first overall draft pick from sunny Southern California would want to play football in frozen Minnesota. Was this some type of trick by the football gods? Ron Erie was the first offensive lineman drafted first overall, and things didn't end up being so bad for Erie after all. After blocking for Heisman Trophy winning running back Mike Garrett at USC, he blocked for future winning Heisman Trophy winner O.J. Simpson, shown here. Vikings head coach Bud Grant was notorious for not starting rookies, and Erie was no exception, as he didn't make any starts in his rookie year. He got the hang of things eventually, and he made it into the Hall of Fame. 3 Hall of Famers and 15 Pro Bowl players resulted from the first round of the 1968 draft. 27 players were selected, and the expansion Bengals received 2 picks. There were a couple of blown selections, as always, along with injuries that rendered a couple of teams void of much, if any, value. Without further ado, let's get to selection number 2. Bengals' first ever draft pick in team history was center Bob Johnson out of Tennessee. He was very tall. He started 136 games in 12 years, making 1 Pro Bowl team. Check out Bob Johnson, how he gives maximum effort blocking Jerry Inman of the Broncos, which allows quarterback John Stofa time to connect with Warren McVay for a 28-yard gain. Johnson was very strong. He blew his opponent off the ball here, which helped to create a big hole for number 19 Essex Johnson to score a touchdown. The Bengals receive an A- for this wise selection. Falcons hit it big by selecting defensive end Claude Humphrey out of Tennessee State in more ways than one. First off, they got 10 years and 129 games started with 6 Pro Bowl seasons and 5 All-Pro teams. And then secondly, in 1979, they traded him to Philadelphia for their 1979 fourth-round pick, who ended up being running back Lynn Kane, who played 6 years for Atlanta, scored 25 touchdowns, and gained 3,300 yards from scrimmage. They also received the Eagles' 1980 fourth-round pick, who ended up being I. M. Hip, running back out of Nebraska. For those wondering what IM stands for, it's Isaiah Moses, and he was Nebraska's all-time rushing leader, but was released by the Falcons, then signed by the Raiders, for whom he played 1 NFL game, and that was that. Nice afro, though. Humphrey is the left defensive end, number 87, and he knocks the ball loose from Willie Ellison, which allows number 49 Jimmy Burson to boogie 46 yards. By the way, all footage from this video is from 1968. With the 4th pick, the Chargers selected Big Russ Washington from Missouri. Although he was a defensive tackle his first 2 years in the AFL and finished 4th in the AFL Defensive Rookie of the Year vote, it was as an offensive tackle where he made his mark. There's no doubt about it. The Chargers deserve an A for this terrific selection. Red Carr, an outside linebacker from Texas El Paso, was the Packers' first choice. 10 years, 112 games started, and 3 Pro Bowls. Another A grade. Boston Patriots selected Dennis Byrd, defensive end out of North Carolina State. Although he started 14 games, he was not able to overcome the knee injury sustained during his college senior season and did not play again after the 1968 season. This is an incomplete grade. Notre Dame defensive tackle Kevin Hardy was chosen 7th by the Saints. They received this pick in the Gary Cuozzo trade with the Vikings. The Saints had to surrender Hardy to the 49ers along with their 1969 first-round pick, who ended up being tight end Ted Kowalik, as compensation for the free agent signing of end Dave Parks, who was signed for a $60,000 per year contract. Plus, NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle ruled that the Saints had to pay Hardy's hefty $90,000 signing bonus. Ouch! Grade F. Barry Csonka, running back from Syracuse. In 7 years with Miami, Csonka rushed for 1,000 yards 3 consecutive seasons, spearheaded the team to 3 straight Super Bowls, winning 2 of them, and was named MVP against the Vikings by rushing for a then Super Bowl record 145 yards. He was feared by defenders due to his 6'3", 240-pound concrete frame. In 1975, he fled the Dolphins for much greener pastures in the World Football League, but it was with his time with the Dolphins that made him a Hall of Famer. Wide receiver Haven Moses from San Diego State played well for the Bills over 4.5 years. He was traded in October 1972 for Dwight Harrison, a wide receiver from Denver who was converted to a defensive back. In 5 years with the Bills, he intercepted 17 passes. The combined value of this pick earns Buffalo a B grade. Tackle Mike Taylor from USC was selected by the Steelers with the 10th pick. He started 12 of 23 games with them, and in mid-1969 he was traded to the Saints for their 1971 fifth-round pick, who ended up being Larry Brown, who played 14 years with the Steelers, starting 121 games, making 1 Pro Bowl. Combined grade, B. Greg Landry wasn't the greatest passer in the world. In fact, he was a better runner as he ran for 2,502 yards and 19 touchdowns. In 1979, he was traded to the Colts for their 1979 4th and 5th round picks and their 1980 3rd round pick. Tight end Ulysses Norris was the prize of the picks, with 26 games started and 8 touchdowns. Grade, B+. Defensive back Jim Smith from Oregon was the Redskins' first pick. He recovered 3 fumbles, 1 for a touchdown, until suffering a severe neck injury which ended his 1-year career. So this is an incomplete grade. Cardinals selected Utah State running back MacArthur Lane, and he played 4 years for them, earning a Pro Bowl designation in 1970 on the basis of 977 rushing yards and an NFL best 11 rushing touchdowns. In 1972, he was traded to Green Bay for running back Donnie Anderson, who played 3 years for the Cards. The total production of these two were 7 years, 42 total touchdowns, and 4,814 total yards. B+. The strangest A grade in this first round belongs to the Eagles for drafting defensive end Tim Rosovich from USC. He was a free spirit who bit off beer bottle caps, chewed glass, intentionally set himself on fire, jumped off rooftops, drove motorbikes off piers, and dove headfirst into whirlpools. He played defensive end for 2 years and linebacker for 2 years, and in 1969 he made the Pro Bowl when he had 7.5 sacks. In 1973, San Diego traded a first-round pick for him, who ended up being tight end Charlie Young, who played 4 years for the Eagles, making 3 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pro teams. In 1977, he was traded to the Rams for quarterback Ron Jaworski, who played 10 years with the Eagles, making 1 Pro Bowl and 1 Super Bowl appearance. 3 Pro Bowl players at 3 different positions. Fantastic. The 49ers drafted 15th and nabbed Forrest Blue from Auburn. He was a huge center, even bigger than Bob Johnson. He piled up the accolades, and I grade this selection an A. The 16th pick is the biggest head-scratcher of all the first-round picks. The Bears selected a blocking fullback who only had 77 total yards and 0 touchdowns as a senior at USC. Mike Hull rushed for 614 yards and received 7 yards in his 3 years at USC. Am I missing something here? Why would the Bears do this? In 3 years with the Bears, he had 329 total yards and 1 touchdown. In 1971, he was traded to Washington for another running back who didn't do anything for them, Dan Pierce, and tackle Steve Wright, who started 14 games in 1971. Overall, what a waste. D. Not to be outdone by the Bears' draft ineptitude, the Jets blew their pick on a running back who didn't pan out either. Lee White from Weber State. 3 years, 6 games started, 426 total yards, 1 touchdown. Bust. Grade D. The Chargers needed help at safety, so they drafted Jim Hill out of Texas A&M Kingsville. He provided some help, but not enough, so they traded him to the Packers in 1974 along with a draft choice for defensive end Lionel Eldridge. I can't give any credit for the 2 years of Aldridge's play since a draft choice was involved, so this is a C-plus grade. Side note, Lions tight end David Hill is his brother. Guard Mo Mormon from Texas A&M was chosen by the Chiefs, and he delivered for them. His main claim to fame is that in the Super Bowl against the Vikings, he threw the key trap block on the Mike Garrett touchdown run made famous by Chiefs head coach Hank Stram when he was mic'd by NFL Films repeating the phrase, 65 toss power trap. Wide receiver Dennis Holman out of Alabama was the Cowboys' pick at number 20. In 3 years with them, he started 10 games and put up very modest numbers. In 1971, he was traded to the Chiefs for running back Gloucester Richardson, who produced even less. C-. Defensive end Marvin Upshaw from Trinity University in Texas was pegged by Cleveland as their first pick, and in 2 years he had 5.5 sacks. In 1971, he was traded to the Chiefs for their 1971 third-round draft pick, who ended up being linebacker Charlie Hall, who started 132 games over 10 seasons with the Browns. B grade. Incidentally, Marvin's brother is Hall of Fame guard Gene Upshaw, who in 1967 was also a first-round draft pick. The Chiefs selected guard George Daney from Texas El Paso. His 7-year career was entirely with the Chiefs, and he was primarily a backup player, starting only 29 games with 12 of them coming in his final year. C grade. The Colts selected Minnesota tackle John Williams, who played 4 years for them, starting 35 games. He was traded to the Rams in 1972 for their 1974 first-round pick, who ended up being wide receiver Roger Carr, who made the Pro Bowl and second-team All-Pro in 1976. B-plus grade. After retiring from the NFL, Williams became a dentist and was on the forensic dentistry team that helped to identify bodies of the September 11th, 2001 World Trade Center victims. The Lions wide receiver Earl McCullough was a speed burner. Earl only played 2 seasons of football at USC. The first year as a defensive back and the second year as a wide receiver when he caught 28 passes for 5 touchdowns. He was the world record holder in the 110-meter high hurdles from July 1967 through July 1969. Plus, he was on the USC 4x100-yard relay team that set the world record in 1967. He ran the starting leg. The Lions receive a B- for this pick. The Raiders surprised everyone with the 25th pick when they selected quarterback Eldridge Dickey from Tennessee State. He's the answer to the trivia question, who is the first African-American quarterback drafted in the first round by either an AFL or NFL team? He was switched to wide receiver and never played quarterback in a regular season pro game. Incidentally, the Raiders selected quarterback Ken Stabler with their second pick in the 1968 draft. Dickey caught 1 pass in 1968 and didn't play in another game until 1971 when he caught 4 passes during the year. Why the Colts traded a 1972 third-round draft pick for him is beyond me, because he never played in the NFL again. The Raiders used the draft pick to select center Dave Dalby, who played 14 years for the Raiders and made one Pro Bowl team. Grade B+. Thanks, Baltimore. Packers selected guard Bill Luke from Arizona at number 26, and he did an admirable job for them over 7 years and 76 games started. His brother Bob fared much better in the CFL for the Calgary Stampeders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers when he achieved All-Star status 4 times in 7 years. B- grade. The last pick in the first round was tackle Doug Croissant out of Indiana. The Dolphins got this pick by trading quarterback John Stofa and their 1968 second-round pick to the Bengals, who had a second first-round pick, compliments of being an expansion team. I grade this pick a B-. Please click the like button if you haven't already, and as always, thank you for watching.